ladies and gentlemen, to Fan Appreciation Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a film that, well, to call it interesting looking is not really doing it justice. See, now, the way I got this one was, I was chatting with a friend on Skype, and one of us stumbled on this thing somehow, some way. I don't even remember which, like, one of us found it. And he begged me to put it on the wish list, not because of the plot, but because of one member of the cast. I will cover that in just a sec. So I did. He bought it, and now I have it. Tonight's movie is called NetherBeast Incorporated. Oh boy. Now, the cast for this movie is very, very promising, because it has Daryl Hammond from Saturday Night Live, Dave Foley from The Kids in the Hall, Jason Mewes, who's appeared in damn near every film Kevin Smith has ever made, ever, and, let's see, who else is on here? Robert Wagner, that's awesome. See here, Judd, Nelson, that's great, and Steve Burns. Some of you might not know who Steve Burns is. And if you don't know who he is, then that means you either don't have kids, or if you do, you don't let them watch children's television. Steve Burns was the original host of Blue's Clues. Now, you would think that, after being known as this, iconic children's television personality, you would stick with something a little more family-friendly. This thing, folks, is an office comedy with vampires and I believe also possibly either cannibals or zombies. Not totally sure which yet. Yeah, the original host of Blue's Clues is one of the main characters in a film with tons of blood, tons of gore, and really, it just sounds cool to take, vampires, cannibals, zombies, and all that other happy horse shit, and dumping it into an office setting. I really find that to be a rather creative thing to do. So, now it's time to see if they're able to get anything good out of this creative premise. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out NetherBeast Incorporated. We are 2 minutes in, there's already a dude with a hunk of wood sticking out of his chest.
I need your help, and we don't have a lot of
That's awesome, dude. Fuck yeah. So let me see if I understand this. So these vampires who have a disease similar to that of fucking Alzheimer's have a possible way of curing it, even though it doesn't always work. Well, shit, like 50-50 shot I guess is better than nothing. That is a really interesting concept, guys. I am loving this fucking movie. Guys, I would just like to sort of share this right now. I am really loving exactly what this movie's doing with vampire mythology. I really find it to be very, very creative. And it's really helping make this story all the more awesome. But I'm going to cover all that when the movie's done. I just kind of wanted to share that now, just because I kind of wanted to. You really have to love a doctor who's able to not only test a blood sample, but then immediately use it on pancakes. It's always good to see that people in this movie are in no way wasteful. I like that. Guys, I never really thought I would see a vampire film that leads to a Mexican standoff. Like, seriously, out of the two things in film I never thought I'd see, would be a vampire film with a Mexican standoff. It's definitely different, and it's most certainly very cool. Oh, I guess when you don't have any bullets, that is definitely a good way of killing somebody with a fucking gun. That's really fucking cool, man. Well, folks, that was NetherBeast Incorporated. My god, this song sucks. I almost never have a negative thing to say about the closing song of a movie, but you guys can hear this shit, right? Yeah, no, shut up. You are not ruining this. Okay. Let's discuss the movie, shall we? First of all, I would like to say that I'm pleasantly surprised. I had no idea if this thing was going to be good or if it was going to be bad, because I only really knew the basic premise. And it's good. It's not great, but I'm going to explain more on that in just a sec. I should, though, make a small correction. At the very start of this, I said that this film might have had something to do with cannibals or zombies. No, there is not a single zombie, nor is there a single cannibal in the entire film. It's just that the vampires in this film are so vastly different from how we traditionally perceive vampires. I might as well start with that, because that does play into the writing a little bit, and I usually like to start with the writing. Where most films nowadays, if they're doing something with vampires and they want to change up a little bit of the mythology, they just change it for the sake of changing it and then never bother to explain why. Here, everything is fully explained. Apparently, everything that we know about vampires was all completely exaggerated by the media. And actual vampires who like to refer to themselves as nether folk, kind of like to dispel these rumors to anyone who might wonder if they ever run into a first lifer. That'd be us, people who haven't already died once. Then they might feel comfortable to actually explain this shit to you. But basically, it's stuff like they do not sleep in coffins. They do not just drink human blood. They also have to feast on human flesh in order to stay alive. Sunlight damages them, but it doesn't kill them like right away. Just tons and tons and tons of stuff. It's really interesting how they were able to like alter and change up a little bit of this. It definitely works. It works very, very well for this film. In fact, I kind of wish that more films would try to be this creative when trying to change up mythology, instead of turning vampires into solar-powered disco balls and turning zombies into track stars. Those are not good changes. The stuff made in this film, though, on the other hand, is exactly what you are looking for. It's called thinking outside the box and doing it in a very creative fashion. Now, since I'm talking about writing, I guess I should talk about the story. Here is where it becomes a little bit of a mixed bag. You see, the movie is good. I mean, I cannot even lie. And the story is really good, and the dialogue is really sharp. However, the middle of the film just seems to drag a little, which is kind of sad, because it starts off awesome and it ends awesome, and then it just has this small like lull in the fucking middle where really there really should be more there, which kind of tells me that they took the short film which this thing was based on, and they just tried to add a little bit too much to it. And we have a movie that probably could have been trimmed by a good maybe 15 minutes, and it might have worked better, as long as they were also to adjust the writing slightly to actually compensate for those 15 minutes being gone, because they are necessary to the story. It's just that they don't really seem to work. It just kind of feels like they were forced to add on more to make this to make this film much more like feature length and size. However, though, the writing isn't so weak in those points where it renders the film bad. It's just that it is something worth mentioning that, yes, the middle 15 minutes or so of this movie really kind of drags a little bit. Beyond that, though, the writing is fantastic, and I really couldn't say anything else negative except for that slight lull in there. Everything else is very, very sharp, and it's fantastic. Acting. Well, guys, when you have Daryl Hammond, Jason Mewes, Dave Foley, Judd Nelson, Robert Wagner, you have an awesome cast here. So it would probably be a fucking shame if they sucked. The one person I was a little bit iffy on was the movie star, which is Steve Burns. Why? Because I kind of had this whole mindset that he was going to be as bad as he was in Blue's Clues, because I was forced to watch a few episodes of Blue's Clues years and years back, and he sucked on that goddamn show. Then again, that's because the writing was shit too. But I'm not going to get into Blue's Clues. I don't want to suffer. Anyway, but I kind of thought that maybe his acting hadn't, improved since then. It has greatly improved. In fact, watching him back then and watching him in this thing is like night and day. This is such a huge improvement over what I've seen him do in the past that, God damn it, it is totally worth applauding. I mean, it's like, because he was really the one fucking, like, wild, like, variable I didn't know about. I didn't know if he was going to be any good, and God damn it, he shocked the shit out of me. So we have a very sound main cast. Well, to say that Robert Wagner is part of the main cast is kind of a lie. He's maybe in the film for about 4 minutes, if even. But still, it is worth mentioning. Now, acting is really sound, including from people who only have, like, secondary roles. People who play like the, like Cranshaws, or, Alexander Graham, like Graham Bell. All these other characters. All of them also turn in awesome showings, including the actor who plays a character named Elton, who basically just stands around and does nothing because he has sort of forced himself mute after watching Elton John appear on some late night talk show back in the 70s. I believe they said it was Merv fucking Griffith. Either way, even he turns in a decent showing, even though he's just dressed all stupid and just stands around and does absolutely jack shit. He still turns in a decent showing. Special effects. Special effects are really good except for one thing, and that is all of the Nether folk have been alive for well over 100 years, certain ones much, much longer. So they have to show them, in period, like, photos. And instead of just putting them in period costume and snapping photos, because, well, they didn't quite have the budget for that. This movie was made for less than $1 million. Doing that would probably have been a little bit of a strain on their budget. Instead, they just photoshopped the actors' faces into vintage photos, which in certain cases it looks really decent. No, scratch that. It never ever looks really decent. It looks really cheesy and really horrible. One of the worst is when they photoshopped Daryl Hammond's face on what looked to be Abraham Lincoln's head. And it just looks so horrible that you have no other option but to laugh. In fact, I am just going to chalk up the Photoshop effects on getting all those vintage photos to work as being there for the sake of being funny. Because otherwise I would have to do, like, dock them points. But it is sort of worth mentioning if you are looking for something where, they really went into great, like, detail on this. You are not getting that. You are going to get really horrible, like, Photoshop jobs on those portraits. Everything else, though, on the other hand, in terms of effects, this is everything from gunshots to blood effects, gore effects, and prop like body parts. All of that looks really good. All of that looks amazing, and because they were toying around with vampire mythology, they didn't have to worry about things like fangs and burning effects with sunlight or any of that other shit, which certainly works in this movie's favor. I will say that. So I think if there's anything else, sound. Now, normally, whenever I think of a low budget film, I usually think that the sound might be the one place where it's going to completely suck balls. Partially because when you have a low budget, trying to loop in dialogue later to try to make everything, like, sound even is usually not exactly, a top priority. However, similar to My Bloody Wedding, NetherBeast Incorporated here has flawless sound. There is literally no, like, hitch or anything. It really does have the look, the feel, and the sound of a film with a much higher budget, which is definitely a testament to the filmmakers, because when you can take a movie that costs next to nothing and make it look awesome, you fucking deserve praise, okay? Now, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really worth mentioning. I've already covered sound. Music, well, there really isn't a whole lot of music, and you already heard me bitch about this awful closing song, so less said about that, the better. I guess it's time to get down to recommendations. I would highly recommend this movie. NetherBeast Incorporated is not perfect, it's not great, but god damn it, it is certainly funny. And there is enough stuff here to laugh at where you will not be disappointed. So, if you can find this thing on Netflix, or if it's on Hulu, if someone has it up on YouTube, if you find it on eBay, find it on Amazon, I don't care. You guys really should check out this thing. Even if you just have to rent the fucking thing from somewhere, like if you have like a Family Video or a Blockbuster or something near your place, rent it. You will enjoy this film as long as you're into slightly darker comedies. Mind you, this isn't nearly as dark as some of the other dark comedies I've covered. I mean, shit, this thing here, compared to stuff like Doctor fucking Strangelove, this thing here is like Saturday morning fare. Now, I do have a theory before I get further into this, because I loved this, but my theory is that NetherBeast Incorporated probably started life as, well, besides starting life as a short film, I don't think they wanted to expand the short film to a feature length. It really does feel as if they wanted to try to make this into a TV show, which is probably why they got a cast who they could probably get for regular episodes. And probably when that didn't totally fly, they probably just said, fuck it, we are going to make a movie. Frankly, I would have loved to have seen a NetherBeast TV show. I really think that it would have worked. Especially since Comedy Central seems to be really lacking in terms of quality shows. A comedy that would be this good would be an improvement over bullshit like Workaholics. So hey, at least that would have been a positive. However, we didn't get a TV show, we got a movie, and the DVD also has the original short film on it, so I am willing to give that a watch at some point. Now, because this is Fan Appreciation Month, and I mentioned it earlier, NetherBeast Incorporated came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in, the person I was talking with when one of us stumbled on this fucking thing somewhere, was my friend David. You can find his YouTube channel at Little Ridley Stairs. Of course, I'm going to be putting a link to that channel in this video's description. Swing on over there and check out the stuff which him, Josh, and Nick all have on there, because they all upload shit over there, and it's all pretty damn decent. So yeah, guys, once more, if you ever get the chance to watch this, by all means check it out. It really is a funny film. It's not perfect, but it is a nice little like popcorn comedy you can probably just kick back and enjoy. So, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.